So, help me welcome Thomas Young to the corner.
Hi, everyone. All right, so about 10 years ago, I was working as a research diver, studying kelp forests on the Oregon coast. And we were working at our dive team was working at a particular location called Orford Reef, which was a series of sharp basalt rocks projecting from the surface of the ocean. It was a really beautiful site. They were surrounded by dense kelp forests. And kelp forests are, in my opinion, an absolutely amazing place. Kelp can grow from steep as 60 or 70 feet all the way up to the surface. It forms this complex habitat that a whole myriad of organisms live within. So you have these bright orange cup corals and red sponges and green and white anemones and all types of crabs and sea snails and more fish than you can ever imagine. You can get harbor seals and sea lions, sometimes even whales and sharks in these incredible habitats. So we all really love doing this work. So many times I was underwater counting things in kelp forests, thinking to myself, I'm underwater and I'm getting paid. How is this possible? Someone pinch me. Sea star, crab, bird. That actually happened once. So we took a boat out to the site and anchored in a gap in the kelp, and started diving. On the last dive of the day, I was working in the canopy of the kelp forest, right near the surface, counting fish. And I looked around for my dive buddy, and he was gone. He vanished. He was a very bad dive buddy. And since I was so close to the surface, I just headed up to the surface and started looking for his bubbles, see if I could figure out where he went. I was looking around in all directions, searching for sign, and then all of a sudden, I was struck by this incredible force that hit me right in the torso and pulled me through the water a few feet. And I couldn't see what it was. I was terrified. I had no idea what it was. But it felt like a linebacker had tackled me underwater. And so I sank below the surface, and I was confronted with, in all directions, this wall surrounding me of sea lions as far as I could see. And they were not happy. So sea lions are kind of like the bears of the ocean. They're curious most of the time. They're cute and cuddly in plush form only. And sometimes they could be very dangerous and aggressive. I knew a diver that I did some diving with who actually was bitten on the head by a sea lion, who managed to fit his entire skull in the sea lion's mouth. And so these sea lions were actively attacking me. They were taking swipes at me with their fin. They were body checking me. They were trying to bite my legs and my arms, and they would come right up to my face and open their mouth in this wide gape, and their teeth would be inches from my mask. And something really interesting happened at this point. My mental state divided into two different directions. They were both competing for my attention, and both of them took on these popular TV or movie voices. So on the one hand, there was the fight or flight response that we're all familiar with, right? And of course, that took on the voices of these popular action characters. I do very bad voice impressions, so you'll just have to come up with these in your own mind. It was something along the lines of, "Sir, we can't hold them off. There are too many of them. Get to the chopper." But we're completely surrounded. Then we'll stand and fight. So I was completely surrounded. I couldn't go anywhere. So of course I stood and I fought. And I was throwing punches and kicks and not landing any of them because these are such incredibly agile animals. And I was trying to make myself larger and trying to yell at them underwater. And nothing was working. And then the other mental state was the voice of Marty Stauffer from Wild America. I don't know if any of you are old enough to make me feel, I'm aging myself right now. I grew up with this show. It's a nature program on public broadcasting. I watched it all the time. Marty Stauffer was like this Alaskan version of Sir David Attenborough, and he had this big bushy beard and always wore plaid, kind of the lumbersexual thing, and he had this sort of Sean Connery lisp. And I had this narrative going on in my mind, like, oh, look at it's remarkable how this social pinniped is grouping together in a cooperative behavior to fend off this intruder in their underwater habitat. And the hapless terrestrial bipedal mammal has no idea how to fend So this narrative with Marty Stauffer's voice was playing in my head. But of course, I went back to that. I got to get the fuck out of here. These things are going to tear me apart. And I finally was spinning in circles trying to fend them off. And then I finally looked down and realized there were none below me. It was just blue water beneath me. And so I swam down to the bottom. And I sat on the bottom, just hoping they wouldn't follow me, hoping there wouldn't be this wall of sea lions coming after me through the depths. And they didn't. I was finally alone. I caught my breath. I took a compass heading back to the boat. I knew what direction it was in. Swam back on the bottom until I saw the anchor, swam up the anchor chain, climbed aboard, and my friend Jeremiah was watching the whole thing from the boat. And he said, Thom, the water was literally boiling with sea lions around you. It's like they had formed a circle of death, and you were in the middle. And while he was describing this hair-raising scene, all that was going on in my head was the voice of Marty Stauffer saying, I hope you join us next week for another exciting adventure of wild America.